every game. The Disruptor is particularly strong against most of the complexity heroes. If he can get a good level 6 and, you know, kind of keep going from there, ganking up, I think that the Disruptor can definitely be a key factor.
Yeah. The last pick right there for complexity was the DK, something they are familiar with. It looks like they'd ran it already 5 times coming into this with a very impressive 4-1 record, and also adds a bit more oomph to what looks like a possible pushing kind of a lineup. You got to consider they also had that Nature's Prophet, so it could be very objective based here for complexity, because if you looked at the side of NAR, they had a big set of team fight there. Disruptor Static Storm, they had the Gyrocopter Call down, and what was the other thing they freaking picked right there? I can't remember, but it was 1+1, and they had a huge team fight potential, possible wombo combo there. So I'm very curious to see how they're going to look to play this game out, especially in the early part of it.
Yeah, I think Dragon Knight was definitely a great pickup because complexity have this generally fits their style, first of all. It also gives natural amount of tankiness where I think, again, a hero that can get up in the Gyrocopter's face, which is pretty important. The one interesting thing is that our Furion is probably going to be run as a 4-position jungler here because you're being run a Juggernaut, Queen of Pain, and a Dragon Knight. All those heroes should be cores, so that kind of forces Furion to go into a 4-position.
Or a 4 Queen of Pain. Has been done. Very unorthodox, but I know teams like, it was PyCat who had run it as a position 4 and somewhat made it work. It almost feel like they got drafted into a position where they were forced to do it, but they somehow managed to make it work. But as you said as well, Nature's Prophet as a 4 is something that we have seen before.
ZfreeK is on the Queen of Pain right now. Now, obviously, we did just like, it's paused right now, so you guys don't have to worry about that. But ZfreeK is playing the Queen of Pain. We'll see whether or not there's a swap. Even if there isn't a swap, it could just be that Moonmeander feels so comfortable in the Furion that he wants to run it, even if it is kind of an awkward 4 position. But you're right. We may be seeing a support Queen of Pain here, which would be quite unorthodox and very interesting watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, otherwise you got one hell of a greedy lineup. I mean, then it's like, put Moonmeander right in the jungle then. And just have him work there and just try to make the best of your, you know, somewhat weaker laning, you know, phase, and just hope that Moonmeander will have that kind of game sense that if he is needed, he will be there at the drop of a hat. Or I guess the drop of a horn if you're Nature's Prophet. So with that said, here we go, folks. We'll hope for smooth sailing from here on out. But this is game number 2 of a best of 5, the TI5 America Qualifiers Grand Finals. It's NAR version 2 taking on complexity. Both these teams have already secured a trip to Seattle. We just need to determine which team is going to be going there with that direct invite and which team is going to have to battle it out in the wild card.
So we do have our Queen of Pain who locked in an early Null Talisman, but this is still a support Queen of Pain. The early Null Talisman is, the stat build is a viable pickup because the support Queen of Pain is actually more capable of direct harassment than pretty much any other support. You don't need boots first because you have Blink to be able to provide you mobility, so the stat build is still going to allow you to be an effective support in the early game, even if, again, the hero pick and even the item build is a bit unorthodox. So we're still going to be running Moonmeander as our offlaner here. I think that's kind of essential. I'm not sure how well the Queen of Pain offlane really would have worked here. Against like Disruptor, if he's able to pull to get himself level 3, the Queen of Pain is just very easily caught out from there. So Moonmeander will be able to have a lot more possibilities as a Furion to be able to just pull with Trance and generally the many different things that Furion can do to disrupt the lane and get that golden experience.
And just talking on the possibilities of Furion, he's one of those heroes that has quite the deep closet of item progression. We've seen everything from your Null Blade Mail build up, straight Midas, Russia Dagon, go right for the Orchid, anything and everything. Now the last time he played this Nature's Prophet, as Hans was already talking about right there in the matchup against NAR not that long ago, he went right for the Orchid first, and then he pushed for Necrobook, and then went damage there on out. Went a Desolator and was able to seed very easy. Do you think that seems to be the optimal kind of item progression for this particular game? Is there a lot of value in going straight for the Orchid once more and getting that silence?
You know, I'm not sure if there is. We're going to have, like, the Yule Scepter, Lina, BKB. I think your build is going to be quite undifferent. Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're talking to each other, and it doesn't seem like they're exchanging pleasantry. It seems like more of that frustration could be coming up, but we'll see if they decide to pause on forward or not. More zone back happening here, Chad.
Look at how heavily they're shutting down the Nyx Assassin. I think that compLexity, I mean, they run the Nyx Assassin a couple times before. They just did it last game. They understand the strengths of the Nyx Assassin and the obvious downfalls. And one of the biggest pitfalls of Nyx Assassin is how do you get experience at level 1. The best play he usually has is spike parapace to survive or mana burn to harass out the enemy support, but they're relegating, actually, I'm sorry. Both supports actually shut out MSS to keep him from getting that level 2. So even if he is going blow for blow, essentially, Queen of Pain mana burning him up to make sure there's no Shadow Strike, he can then just run out and do the pulling and Fly actually tap in to able to zone out MSS even further.
It looks like MSS was expecting to kind of be that punching bag in that lane. He had a serious amount of reach as well. Like 8 angles of the start plus the salve. He's already starting to dip regen bank. Obviously, it's just build enough sustained power so he can at least be for the XP. Don't expect him to really dig out some early CS. No, no, no. So back at this mid lane matchup, DK going against the Lina. I foresee the Lina being able to have the CS advantage here, but it's DK after all. He is certainly the tankiest one. So being able to bring him down is going to be a bit of a challenge here.
Yeah, the fact that Ush is so far ahead in the first couple levels says really good things about where the lane will go from here. Because Lina, I would say that Dragonite, his best opportunity to get ahead in CS is going to be in those first couple of levels. From there, it's going to start heavily going against him as Lina is able to just spam out more and more Dragon Slaves, and Dragonite may not be able to keep up with that.
MSS, he gets slowed down. The early poison is going to be picked up here from Fly, and they slowly wither away. He's going to try to get himself the last hit, but it's not going to matter. He eventually does go down from the dot damage, and it's going to be Fly who picks up your first blood for compLexity.
Double dots, double slows. You don't usually look at the Dazzle slow and say it's that effective at level 1, but the 33% combined with the Shadow Strike as well actually makes for a pretty significant amount of slow where they're just able to right-click so many times during the down.
Swindle going to get hit with the LSA, follow up with that Dragon Slave, brings him down pretty dang low, and he's already out of his bottle charge, so he is going to have to play a bit more reserved at this point. Will continue to take over this lane dominance here and get some early little bits of damage on that tier 1.
Something that we didn't talk about is that North American Rejects did probably the best play they had in their arsenal. They rotated both supports to try and gank up SwindleMelon in that middle lane when Moonmeander did the disruptive Furion things that he did and got the lane to push into his towers. So essentially they can't do anything to stop Moonmeander from getting experience, so they try and gank middle lane. But SwindleMelon's probably got that call from Moon and just sat really far back underneath his tower. And he is suffering in CS because of it, but he's still getting something, and that's the best thing you can talk about when it comes to Dragonite mid. He doesn't need to win CS. He just needs to not die, essentially. He just spams out Breathe Fire and Bottle spams, and you'll be happy no matter what, because the big thing Dragonite gives you is a lot of mid-game power, and especially a lot of pushing power as well.
Now, I want to ask you a question. What we saw a few moments ago was Moonmeander coming to the mid lane, handing off the bottle, and of course, abusing the fountain thing and filling it back up. Yep. What do you think about that mechanic? We were talking to some of the pros out there in the lounge, and most people felt that it's something that might need to change and is almost just unnecessary to be a part of the game.
Oh, absolutely. I would say that unless you're somebody who is like heavily benefited from being able to use that, I would say pretty much everyone agrees that that should be changed. And that just allows the middle lane to be a bit too easy, right? I mean, we've already kind of nerfed down the bottle so much because you want the mid matchup be skill-based and not just spam-based. So I would definitely agree it should be changed.
That doesn't, of course, we need to frown on coL. It's part of the game, and it's of course they can absolutely utilize it as most teams already have. It's something that can be changed, and you have to decides here, but pushing the 5-minute mark, still literally coL going to be flying out, but not going to be enough. It does connect with him twice, but there's obviously not going to be a follow through quite yet. Just more adding an extra bit of effort for Ush to really take control. He's 31-8 right now, but your big breadwinner as far as CS does belong to coL on the gyro. 35 and 16 denies. He is putting in the work here in the bottom lane.
Yeah, he certainly is. Trying to make sure there's not much experience going to Moonmeander. Nice little steal there from Ush as he rotates into the jungle and actually throws out a Dragon Slave that steals a couple of trees as well as top lane, actually Zyzz not quite level 6, so can't go for the Nyx Assassin solo just yet, but it is a possibility in the future, as is Swindlemelonzz being able to go on Ush now that he's level 6. It's one of the critical things you see Dragonite against a lot of intelligent mid spammers, such as Puck and Alina, and once you hit your level 6, it's really your opportunity to be able to provide the upset in the lane where the intelligence hero is usually leading, at least in CS and usually harassment. So he just really needs one support to help him out, but North American rejects have already read this. They rotated the Witch Doctor in earlier, and it looks like he's still kind of hanging around to make sure that Luke does not get ganked.
Ideally, Swindle would love if they can get some sort of pick-off attempt here, using the Dragon form and then being able to follow up with some serious damage, if not take down that tier 1. Otherwise, you know, he could look to Ush, who's also now level 7, actually almost close to level 8. He could be tempted to venture off elsewhere and utilize that Laguna Blade. You already have it. It's online, ready to go. You just got that itchy trigger finger. You'd love to use it to get a pick-off on your side and your first kill on your team. But if you do venture away from this lane, Swindle could look to take it over in the same sense that we see like the Death Prophets back in the day, and you know, when DK was first really thriving. So we'll see how objective-based Swindle wants to be. For now, he's just casually continually throwing out that Breathe Fire while he can to just get some last hits in.
Yeah, I think one of the... Yeah, this is getting laggy for even us here, but I would say, Korok, a very, very common thing for the Gyrocopter, being able to use a hard camp spawn as soon as he gets called down, because most of the time he doesn't need to be able to utilize it to kill anything. So Korok's actually going to be farming up like a 4-stack or something here, using both Rocket Barrage and Call Down. Good way to get your Gyrocopter a big jump in his mid-game items.
Credit to Fog being there. That's support like you got to do, the selfless support, being able to stack that up so your Gyrocopter could just bring in all those delicious rewards.
And it's not all self-sacrifice, let's be real here. He's going to be able to sit there and soak half of that experience. Oh, yeah. Try and get that level 6. Ooh, there's the, finally. So I was just about to praise MSS for utilizing, and this is very important for offlaners that can't utilize jungle. You need to recognize the times where you can't sit in lane anymore, and instead of just trying to soak every once in a while, utilize that time for something important. What he did is rotate into the lane, just as the Witch Doctor did, to make sure that you were able to counter-initiate if they went on the Lina, but it looks like he finally decided to go back to top lane and finally got caught up on the slap. It was bad.
That cooldown so low. That means leave some of these foggers out the road here. Chad, toe-to-toe. Fog does energy, but is going to end up going down. Fog follow kill is too far for the glimpse. It looks like it might not be their Laguna for Ush. A wild Ush appears, but they're not going to be able to finish the Moon, or did I speak too soon? They get the 1 kill, and they'll be able to follow up with a secondary one here onto Moon, and with that, they get a nice...
Yeah, big time kills there to get both of those, and I would say, again, I have to praise Korok every single time. I don't know how he does it, but he always manages to survive. One thing I just didn't call last game was that his TP plays have always been excellent, and I wanted to give some love to him solely because I forgot to. In game number 1, Korok always finds a way to survive, and looking forward to seeing how he manages to do it again in this game with the Gyrocopter. He's already building into some heavy stats. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised, and we've talked about this a bit, the same burst over the SOL, solely because the tankiness that it gives you on the Gyrocopter allows you to be able to be a lot more aggressive with your Rocket Barrage play in these early to mid-game team fights.
First tower of the game is going to go down just shy of the 10 minutes. Top, but goes the cask. Goes himself. They have Maldic. They have stunned the new. Here's going to be enough to take down and go through that dragon. Hell of a glimpse to send him right back where he came, and still can't finish him off. And now all of a sudden it's Ush who's going to be injured. Here comes Moon and Fly. They move on in and they're going to finish him off. Fly gets that kill. Now they look to Chad. They get hit with the shout, and he's going to go down a TP, but you ain't going anywhere. Fly is going to get the double kill on his Ezreal, and with that, they'll be able to follow up with another tier 1 takedown in the mid lane.
Yeah, you're going to be able to see the synergy of this lineup from compLexity come to the fore real quickly as they immediately start grouping up. They're going to start pushing down towers with the trinket they have from the Furion, the Dragonite ultimate. They have the Juggernaut healing wall, which is really good with the Dragonite since he's already naturally key anyway. It's going to be making this Dragonite pretty much unkillable at a certain point, especially if they start snowballing this tower build to an heavy amount of stats and a quick BKB.
As we see through the little choppiness there, back at the bottom lane, Korok gets himself in a bit of a reserve position, but oh yeah, you can see Zyzz, he has got his Omni Slash probably back up and ready to go, he does. Love to utilize it there. Almost got the isolation pick, but MSS not looking to get caught out quite yet. Back towards the mid lane. A persistent NAR squad. To get a pick off here. Fly. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. They're looking to move on in. Dude, they're going to get the TP help right here. Should be able to get off the Shalgrave. No, he won't. They have enough lockdown. He can go down. Ooh, and he's going to get through bounty as well. So a little extra love right there. But all the meanwhile, I guess you could say space, because compLexity are going to be clearing out the third straight tier 1, this time on the bot. NAR looking for their own here in the mid lane, but it looks like it's not going to come easy. They bring it down low, but the rotations do come.
Yeah, the Fury and Ultimate being able to push them back is very critical. If North American Rejects had gotten a tier 1 tower, it would have been absolutely worth it, but as it is, that middle tower is still up. compLexity keep a big hold on the map when we're still alive, as well as on a very critical play. Roshan is going to be a possibility for compLexity as well. I was going to mention this in the draft. When you pick up a Disruptor, you leave yourself pretty exposed pre-level 6. It's very similar to an Ancient Apparition. You have ganking possibilities, but you don't provide anything in team fights, and this is why compLexity are really able to 5-man early, because they know that North American Rejects are not going to fight them, and if they do, they most likely lose unless they just get some sort of godlike initiation, because their supports aren't really a factor. Even the Witch Doctor is sort of a non-factor in team fights pre-level 6. That Death Ward dishes out a fair amount of damage, but he doesn't even have it yet.
Yeah, Disruptor's one of those heroes you favor so much XP over just getting items. You just want to get to your level 6 as fast as possible. You want to get that glimpse at least to level 3 so you can really make some use of it, but they're already making a go into Roche. It looks like they got the medallion, and what hell of a time. Credit to Fly, of course, getting early killing spree because of it, and now he's got arcane boots and a medallion on your Dazzle, and with that, they're going to be able to easily take down this Roche. This is something you figured that would be a bit more difficult for your Jug, given all the recent changes to everything, but as you can see, it's no problem whatsoever when you get a support like that.
Yeah, double damage and the early pickup and medallion on Fly. That's the tower bounty coming into play. Obviously, he was able to do like a small amount of pulling and stuff, but it's really the tower bounty that allowed him to get that minus armor so early, and now they'll just continue to snowball that. Utilizing the Aegis now to bully North American Rejects out. NAR are doing the best thing possible, though. Look at their spread of heroes. They've got 2 up in the top lane to try and establish dominance over this tier 1 tower, which it looks like they're successful, and they're also trying to push out both middle and bottom at the same time. They have to try and split push as much as possible, but also make sure that they don't get caught. compLexity is going to continue to 5-man down. So.
Here they go. They're going for tier 2. They feel strong enough because of that huge economy boost their whole team got from all those tier 1 takedowns. And now the Roche, there's really nothing that can stop them from doing as they please. So they charge on full. They know that the peaking point for NAR, or at least one of their stronger peaking points, is, you know, into that 25+ minute mark of the game. They can't really offer a whole lot at this point. So they're just going to keep on pressing forward while they can. They get the tier 2 pot. Look at this. They might even try to cut in from behind and go for the tier 2 mid.
Yeah, this is some true death balling going on here for compLexity. People shouldn't read too much into this, though. I don't believe the meta is completely frozen up on my screen. So,
love it. Yeah, you're going in treadwalk mode, but here on our big old screen in front of us, the action's still going, and as you can see, Zyzz might be caught out. That is the Aegis, of course, but they're going to make their go right back onto Hush. Swindle puts it in with the Dragon Tail. Zyzz is going to be forced to step back to call down, though. Big damage. Swindle not going to be able to get away from that. He's going to be going down. This is a big death ward doing some serious damage. MSS moves on in. Meanwhile, you can see Big Sonic away to Fly on out. Fog's in trouble. Fog goes down. They're going to be losing 2. They're going to lose 3. Zyzz with the return ends up with a double kill to clear on out. Moon stays alive, so with that, he's going to be summoning up his new little Treon army, and they're going to be finishing off that tier 2. It's just non-stop here for compLexity. Seem to be the aims for NAR. As they run them right over.
Yeah, American Rejects did a good job setting up that fight. They got a little bit too greedy and ahead of themselves. They saw blood in the water and just pursued, but you can't. compLexity are just too far ahead. They're like, North American Rejects didn't actually get an experience advantage through this whole entire thing, where compLexity are 5-manning because, one, the laning phase went pretty damn well for compLexity. The Furion sizable level lead over the Nyx Assassin to start with. The supports did pretty well for compLexity, being able to get their level 6s, and Roshan is actually a pretty big experience factor as well. So everything looking... Oh, let's take a look at this replay, actually.
Yeah, they move in. They get what they want. Of course, he's dancing in front. He has the Aegis, so it's expected that he'll probably be baited out and taken down. If he can get more abilities out from NAR, the better. But then they look at Swindlemelons here, and they put a lot of focus onto that. So
yeah, well, it's set up here. Like, they have really good control for the Death Ward. We mentioned this during the draft, but this is about where they go from, okay, we've got 1 kill, and they start going a little bit too far. If they'd all gone for Moonmeander here and just backed out from there, they would have been good. But they pushed themselves a little bit too far forward, and boy, did Z.freeK strike big on that one. He actually hit, what, 5 people there with that Sonic Wave, like a 4-man scream as well. That was all the damage. That's more damage you've seen most of the time out as well.
Uh-oh, Fly might be in trouble. They're going to be using a Static Storm for this Dazzle, but it's still not enough. He's able to walk away, but oh, not too far out. MSS is going to be able to strike and catch him with the stun, and he will end up going down, so they end up stepping back and away. Ush scouting out the pit, but obviously it's a lot more time before he'll be back up and ready to go.
North American Rejects need to be able to push hard right now. If a pick off like that, they gotta force compLexity to split up and deal with the pushes coming in from their side lanes as best as possible, because this will free up room for the Lina to go for more pickoffs with that Yule Scepter grab. And I mean, Disruptor's pretty pickoff oriented, Nyx Assassin as well, and they also need to just give room to the Gyrocopter, who needs desperately to farm up that BKB. Otherwise, he's just going to be dealing with the stun of Dragonite and the burst damage of the Queen of Pain most of the time.
Looks like Swindle picks up the Shadow Blade, as he usually does. Puts it right to use as he tries to get towards his top lane. Okay, they lead it. Z.freeK gets off the screen, goes for the Shadow Strike onto the 1 support Chad. Chad getting hit with the Breathe Fire. He tries to dish off the Death Ward, but he gets knocked in the noggin, and that's going to be stopped. Meanwhile, Ush is going to be the next one pressured. He's the 1 on 2-on-1, able to get off the Laguna, but it's just going to be tickling Moonmeander. He'll be healed up thereafter. Meanwhile, mid lane, Zyzz is going to make it away. That Blade Fury not going to be caught out with the stun, and he makes it back to base. And all day, it's 3 who go down. Korok as well was picked off at some point, too.
Yeah, compLexity just knowing where to read North American Rejects. I mean, the Shadow Blade is sort of the antithesis to what North American Rejects are running right now. They're simply too far behind. SwindleMelonzz is now able to utilize the idea from North American Rejects of, okay, we need to split push in order to draw compLexity away from their 5-man and go for pickoffs. Well, SwindleMelonzz is naturally going to use that advantage to find pickoffs of his own with that Shadow Blade, and obviously his initiation is way superior to everyone else's because he's naturally tanky. The Lina and everyone else, actually, that he comes across is pretty much going to be bursted down during that 2.5 second time of Dragon Tail if he's got pretty much anyone else with him. The only possible survivor is maybe like the Gyrocopter, who's on Strength Threads. He goes up to like 1500 HP.
And look at this, they're able to stack out the NAR Ancient Camp and even farm it for themselves here. All the meanwhile, we did see MSS was able to throw together a blink for himself from the Nyx Assassin, but we'll have to see if it's going to be enough for them to really come back into this. You can't really rely on big rubber bands at this point to try to get yourself back into the game. They just need to kind of keep their nose to the grindstone, build up that farm, but it's going to be a difficult challenge ahead of them to push on forward. For SwindleMelonzz, usually he likes to go straight into the Silver Edge as a DK, but I don't think this is that kind of game. There's not even much to break at this point. Sure, it gives you a bit more as far as stats or damage, but I think just falling back and going for the BKB at this point is probably the safe bet for him.
Yeah, I think that Shadow Blade first is like an obvious go-to, especially when you're so far ahead. I think maybe you go for the Sage, but you don't necessarily invest wholly into the Silver's Edge. Silver's Edge generally is just a nice item for Dragonite to have because the stats are so worth it. I mean, Sage is very nice on Dragonite. So I would say he builds it eventually here, but Sage and then BKB, or maybe even BKB first. BKB first would be like a greedy, like, okay, let's push uphill in the next 5 minutes kind of play. I think he can easily just go Sage and maybe even full Silver's Edge before he goes to BKB, because compLexity can actually sit back and wait on Roshan before they push uphill.
Now they're smoking, and Moon is acting as like a mobile ward here. They have good vision, not so much. Are they going to utilize that vision? It looks like they will. He leads in with a Sprout from above. Now there is going to be the Yules, but trouble's already coming. Korok can get immediately stunned, and the Sonic Wave is going to be there. He's already in trouble. This call down is just to try to save themselves, but the damage has been done. They lose 3. Korok barely alive is going to go down. But a beautiful setup from compLexity. The trap has been sprung, and it was led in from that delicious vision from Moonmeander, and it ends up being a 5-man wipe. compLexity are executing this team play, just some of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, compLexity, you cannot forget about the buff to the Furion with Sprout being a 3-second duration, up to 6 seconds. later on in this game, you got to be able to have some quick way to be able to get out of those trees, and unfortunately, Alina, like, Light Strike Array is there, but it's just not good enough. He immediately did the Yule Scepter, but it just basically baited the Gyrocopter to join the Lina in depth, essentially. And that's compLexity getting that pick off, and turns into 2, and then 3, and then they take the melee racks, and next thing you know, compLexity are pretty much in an unstoppable position now.
And as you see, they lead with the Sprout. They try to get some help, and Swindle's in great position. Gets the stun off from Quark before anything's going to be there, and ZfreeK follows it up with that beautiful Sonic Wave. Catches on multiples, and really from there on out, they're just weak and wounded, trying to get themselves back to the comfort of their own home. But look who interjects. It's Zyzz, walking with the Blade Fury, and there's just nowhere to go.
MSS went for the attempted deny there on the Gyrocopter, but even missed out on that, so just nothing going right for North American Rejects. Meanwhile, on the side of compLexity, you've got items galore. Look at the Nature's Prophet. He's got the Orchid pickup, which we saw a while ago, but now with Vladimir's grabbed, which is going to be able to add a significant amount of pushing power to this whole entire team. And let's not forget the lifesteal change does apply to range heroes now.
Yeah, thank you, Frog. Thank you so much for that. So he even picked that up as well in the last game he played as Nature's Prophet, and you can see how beneficial it is for him and for his team. But that's it, Cap. Game 2 is done. They've thrown in the towel. They know that at this point they're just way too far in ahead, and they will not have an answer. And it's compLexity who claim a very swift game number 2. When you compare it to game number 1, that felt like 3 seconds long.
Yeah, that was pretty insane. I mean, that was utter dominance from compLexity. I'm not sure if North American Rejects are maybe just tilting